rundown for the spring programs that we're going to have coming up. I hope that we have as many people turn out for the next program. Even more would be lovely. And I really do thank you for coming out to support our members. I know this is, they put a lot of time and effort into putting together this kind of program. And it's nice to have an audience to give it to. And we will record it. So while we are recording it, which we are not doing yet, no sidebars, no, jokes, rattling papers as much as you can, etc. So just be quiet, and so we can get a good video. And all of these videos of all these personal stories are maintained on our club computer, so that we have them for the history of the club. And they are really a valuable resource for understanding the culture and the history of our club members. In February, we will be having our geography program. We have Hans Mueller, who is a German teacher at the Lifelong Learning. He's going to come in. He's from Saxony. And we have two young students from the University of Delaware. They're exchange students from Germany. One's from Kassel, the other's from Hesse. Yes, Hesse. And they'll be telling us kind of about their area, and I particularly asked the young man from Kassel to tell us about the voice art installation, which started in Kassel, and we have 2 voice trees in our property that are part of that art installation. I don't think there's any left in Kassel, so we have to be very proud of ours. I had to take him and show him our voice trees so he knew what they were.
Jim didn't know.
Yeah, so we'll tell you more about the voice trees in February. And then Jim Etheridge is going to be doing our program in March, where he's going to tell about tracking down his family and they're a Bavarian family, correct?
Yeah, Württemberg.
Yeah, from Württemberg. Württemberg or Bavaria?
Württemberg.
Württemberg, okay. Okay, I was thinking they were from Bavaria. April, we are going to be changing our schedule a bit. We are not going to have a meeting on the 3rd Monday of April. We are switching that to April 23rd, I think that's the right date, which is a Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Max Dooley is going to give us a program on the Berlin airlift. It's been about 70 years, and he did a master's thesis on that airlift, and so he'll be sharing with us that incredible story. And it's a time when I would really hope that some of our young people can come in, because they may not know anything about it, any idea, so this is part of their history lesson.
What's the date on that again, Lloyd?
I believe it's April 23rd,
Thank you.
which is a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, double check for me, Tom. If it's not, interrupt me. Our final program, we still don't have anybody who has volunteered to lead it. And it is a program that I'd hope would touch on the various new age ways of doing genealogy, webinars, cloud storage, library digitizing all their materials, all of that kind of information. So if you could take a part of that, let me know, and we would be having a program in May on that subject. This Saturday, at the Delaware Historical Society Research Library, which is on Market Street, 501 Market Street. As a matter of fact, they are going to have a program on newspapers as genealogy gold mines. And I know this is true. Personally, I'm unsure how to access these gold mines, but hopefully I'll learn more, because I do plan to go. It's free. Parking is free on Saturday downtown. It's from 10 to 12 at the Delaware Historical Society. Are there any other announcements that I have failed to make? Okay. We are going to move on. Are you about ready, Larry?
Already going.
Okay. Oh, well, I haven't given you the signal yet.
You never do, Lloyd.
You're experienced at this. Our speaker tonight is Jann Campen. He is from northern Germany. The only thing I really know about Jann is he is Hank's right-hand man come Oktoberfest in cleanup. So he's a great cleaner for Oktoberfest. And he's been very supportive of Hank. So in that regard, I think he's wonderful. I'm going to turn it over, so I'm going to learn a lot more from Jann himself. Jann, you're on.
Alrighty. Alright, I guess the time has come, and it's my turn now. So I'm from Ostfriesland. It's all the way up northwest in Germany, and where the people are cold and reserved. And we are proud to be East Frisians, I have to say that. And we are a special species. Alright, here we go. So I was born and raised in Germany, born on January 18, 1974 in Aurich. And yes, my birthday is in 2 days actually.
Ah, happy birthday.
So Aurich would be right around there. That's a closer map. That's pretty much Ostfriesland here. And that's Aurich. And I was born, on my town where I'm from is Schierum, and it's south of Aurich. It's called Schierum. And it actually goes back to when the horses were still dominating, and it's sheer so the reins and the harnesses got put on or got switched. So Schierum was famous because there's a main street, it's what they call a highway or Bundesstraße, which goes all the way to the coast. And that actually went through Schierum. So it was an old horse pike, as you can call it. They're my parents, Hermann and Theresa. Over here they are like in the early 20s when I was born. And I'm the third child out of 5. And my mom has started young and ended a little bit older. So I was like, that's me. That's me growing up, playing with a ball like always. So I have to say I grew up on a dairy farm. And so I either played in the kitchen with a ball or was out back with the cows and feeding the calves. This is me getting ready for school with a book bag on my back. I had to walk to the bus stop, which was basically through our fields. That's me when I was about, in this picture probably 13, but when my brother was born I was 12. So my mom was 37, 38 when she got the 2 youngest ones. And she was like 19 when she got the oldest 2. And there's all of us, so that's my oldest sister Margaret, my second oldest Heike, that's me. And then there was kind of a break, and then my brother and my sister were born 12 years, when I was 12 years old. And then when I was 13, my sister. And my brother's easy to remember because his birthday is on April 26th, the day when Chernobyl happened. And that's a more recent picture of them 4. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. It was my sister's wedding, Antje. And again, Margaret, the oldest, and then Heike, Christian, and that's a couple summers ago. That's all of us, my parents, and then like us and like organ pipes, I guess. Except, I guess I'm the tallest then. So for Christmas we went home. It was, we had a pretty good time. And this is my parents again, and so all my sisters and the husbands and the grandkids. And that's my daughter and my son. So we will be able to spend Christmas all together. So then while we were there, we went to the Christmas market. And the Christmas market is very famous for arts and crafts, and they sell food, and then of course the main drink is Glühwein, which is like a red spice wine, old wine, and grog, which is kind of my favorite. It's like water with hot water with rum in it, and you put a couple of sugars in there. And if you want to get really sophisticated, you just get a whole service and then you don't have to run back and forth. That's me playing in the straw. That's actually at the bus stop. There's one of our cows behind it. And that's my first day for kindergarten. So kindergarten, you get kind of like this thing, what looks like a carrot, and it's filled with candy. And then at the farm we had, there was like a pond behind it, which the previous owner used as a quarry, and he got all his dirt out of it. So then it filled with water, and then in the summer we used to fish there. And then in the wintertime, when the weather was permitting, then we were ice skating. Me playing with the dogs. And the main highway, so our dairy farm was on that main highway I was talking about. So we were just a couple of feet away. And as the years went on, the traffic was just gotten more and more. And then I had to go to school too. So I went to kindergarten to 4th grade. It's an elementary school. And I went to a school, the town is called Vene. And Vene only consists of a sports team, a soccer club, and a church, and an elementary school. And back then there was a farm and 3 single homes. So that was about Vene. But Vene had a big, like a lot of people had to go to church there. So Vene was not in our municipal area, but I still had to go to Vene because we had to go to church to Vene, and therefore I had to go to the elementary school to Vene. So then after 4th grade I went to middle school, grades 5 and 6, and that went in Elo, which again, I should have went to Aurich, which was only 4 kilometers away, but I had to go to Elo, which was 9, just because I went to the elementary school, which is in the same municipality. So then after middle school, so in middle school they assess you based on your grades, which way are you going. So in Germany we have 3 legs of schooling. Hauptschule, which is main schooling, you graduate after 9th grade. So I went to real school, and then you graduate after 10th grade, and the highest leg would be gymnasium. But depending on your grades in 10th grade, you have the ability to switch over to gymnasium, and that's what I did. So after 10th grade, I decided I want to keep going to school, and then I went to gymnasium, which is basically like a VOTEC. I took that route as a VOTEC with my major in agriculture because we had the dairy farm. So I finished my grades 11 to 13, and then again, based on your grades, you will be able to go to college or university. But because we had the dairy farm, I chose not to keep going to school, and I decided it was time to get into the family business. So I did trade school. And in Germany, pretty much all the trades, they go to the companies or wherever, and then they have 1 day a week, they have school. So I did that for 2 years. So 1 year was on one farm, and then another year was on a different farm. And I chose the location close to home, so I was be able to sleep at home rather than live with a family and pay room and board, which they charge you about 9 to 11 German marks back then. And the pay as an apprentice was only like 450 a month. And the other reason that I chose to be close to home is so I could help my father as much as I could. So sometimes, so when I came home, then I still had to milk our cows and feed the cows and all that, so I had to do it all over again on the same day. So church, I was talking about church earlier, so it's located in Vene. And one word about how are the churches funded in Germany, it's basically a percentage of your salary. So a lot of people say, that's way too much money for me, so they are not participating in church and they are getting out. So my family, I have to say, it's kind of split. Like half of them are still in church and the other half went out. So then also, because so my area is all Evangelic Lutheran. So where the difference is that we have to go to church school, and that's basically from age 12 to 14. And then on 14, I had my confirmation in May 1988. I got my confirmation, and that allowed me to participate in communion. Not like here, I guess, where you can start communion early on in the Presbyterian church where I'm going to now with my wife. So after you get your confirmation, then you go to communion. But you also learn about the Bible and everything that has to do with God, and they still do this, and I think it's a good way of doing it. So then also, after your confirmation, so then you're 14. And then what we call a hunter's license. It's like kind of like a saying. It's not an official word, but it's kind of like a saying. So Jagdschein, what that gives you is, that basically makes you to go out. So that's when I started to go out to the disco. So everybody wanted to go earlier, but everybody's like, oh no, you're gonna have your confirmation first. So then after that, we started to go out, and we started off on Sundays. So Sundays was our main day, and my parents or whatever, or we had like riders all together. Then we got dropped off at 3 and picked up at 7, and then maybe we got older. It kind of got later and later, but Sundays was the main day. So a little bit about our church. So our church started off as a wooden building, and then it was replaced by brick in the 13th century. So where I went to school in Ilo, there's a forest nearby. And in that forest there was a monastery. And that monastery was broken down, and all those bricks were carried to our church in the 1300s. So those bricks we have, they are obvious way older than the 1300s. But I don't know how much that monastery actually dates back. So then in 1499, it was consecrated by the abbot and the monk from the convent from Ilo, like I said, from the monastery. And the inventory is basically like wooden sculptures, and a crucifix actually from the 1390. And then we have like a sculpture with Mary and the Jesus in her arms. That's our church there. Which these are like the oldest bricks, and then this was like an addition. That's our bell tower here. And then so our cemetery, we have to use these headstones, and every grave is outlined with marble border. So and in that you would have like flowers or little bushes, and people go there like say every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and clean that up, weed it, get the leaves out. Unlike where it's here, where everything is grass. So over there you have a plot and it's outlined with marble border. And that's our organ. It's a pretty old organ. And this spinner here, so every year at the 6 o'clock at church, then this spinner at the last song starts spinning. That's the only time at Christmas. It's a cold church, I call it. It's all like stone, and so there's this. I feel it feels always cold in the church. Our pulpit. So then after trade school, I had to go to the service, and back then it was still mandatory. And when I went, I had to serve 10 months. So it already went down 10 months where they originally started with 24 months after World War II. So 10 months, and 7 months out of the 10 I spent in Aue. So these are all the battles. And it was Air Force, it was an Air Force base. And actually, one of these 3 buildings, you can still outline the swastika they built when it was Second World War II. But then after World War II, they kind of tried to get rid of it, but you can still make it out. But I forgot which one of these. So nowadays, these barracks are all closed. We don't have any more military in Aue, and now they try to use these for the refugees. So before the 7 months, I had to go 3 months to boot camp. And I went to Goslar, which is also in Lower Saxony, but it's all the way on the other side. It's close to the East Germany. And then I was the last one with 3 months of boot camp. So after that, they switched that to, and they downsized that to 2 months. And I was one of 6, so we were 6 guys in a small room, sleeping in bunk beds. And one of the funny stories was that, so at the beginning, we almost had inspections every day. And then they got less and less and less. And we had to get up at like 5 to catch a breakfast, and then inspections were like around 7, and we had to get all the shaving done and all the cleaning and all this and that. But because the inspections got less and less, we decided, and we got more freedom, so we decided, oh, we have to go out and see what's going on outside of this. So we decided, I'll skip all the breakfast and everything else, so we just sleep in. Because there were no more inspections, so we were just getting up when everybody else was already outside doing their duties. So then one morning, and we were the third room on that hallway, we were the third room in. So that one morning, the inspector came and started in the first room, and everybody was going crazy all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta shave. So we had like lockers, and we had a little mirror in the locker, so I got my razor out, and I'm like, oh, it's gotta do dry at this point. So I was like hacking it off, and everybody was screaming behind me and like getting ready for the inspector to come in. And then all of a sudden it got quiet, and I'm like, why is it quiet now? So I turned around, and he was right behind me, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I got a little yelling for that, but it was, at the end, everybody was basically laughing. So me growing up, the only thing I was allowed to do, or I was able to do, was play soccer. Which in Germany, sports are not tied to schools. So you go to your local sports, and you either play soccer, or there's another local sport I'm going to get into a little bit later. So I played soccer basically like since I could walk, until like 18 years old, and it was the last game in my youth. It was a friendly too, where I blew out my knee, and that was pretty much the end of my career, because at that point I already got offers from higher teams in the area, and they invited me for a viewing practice, but that was the end of it. And then I started playing again, but it went never back where I used to be. So now to the regional sports. I don't know if you heard about Boseln or Klotschießen before. It's like a ball, it fits right in your hand. It's either made out of rubber or wood. And it consists out of, well, it's a team sport. And you either do it as a single, where each team is representing the best shooter, I call it, and they shoot out who's the best shooter in the whole region. Or you play it as a team, which is basically in the winter months, and you play that on main highways, and it happens on the weekend. So everybody kind of knows, okay, it's Boseln time, so we have to be careful driving. And so each team basically consists out of 4 groups with 4 to 5 players. So 2 groups play with a rubber ball, which this one is a rubber ball, and the other 2 play with a wooden ball. And I could explain to you guys the rules, but it's a little complicated. But when I was researching a little bit about Boseln, I found that nowadays they also Boseln in West Virginia. So what happened is a lot of Irish in West Virginia, they took over that tradition. And in Ireland it's called road bowling. And every 4 years, each team out of each region is representing the best team, and they play the European Championship. So teams out of Ireland, Netherlands, our region, and Schleswig-Holstein, which is all the way up north, the best teams come together for that. And then we have the recreational Boseln, which is basically, say, like offices play against each other, or they just go out to have fun, or if the German club would say, okay, this weekend let's get a group together and we just go out boating. There's nothing behind it, but what is always behind it is that little wagon there. It's filled of all kinds of goodies.
Liquid goodies.
Yes. Liquid encouragement. So now a little bit about Ostfriesland. So Ostfriesland, we still speak Plattdeutsch, which is basically Lower German, and it's actually its own language, considered its own language. And nowadays, not at my time, but nowadays they actually started to implement that again in elementary school. So at third grade, second grade, third grade, they start to teach Plattdeutsch again because they do not want that to die out. And Ostfriesland is not really a county or a state or anything else, it's just meant to be a region. And it consists of the counties of Aurich, Leer, Wittmund, Emden, and also, well, it's located on the North Sea, but on the next slide, so we have, I guess we missed it, but what I was saying is, so Wittmund, Aurich, and Leer, and then we have one more town, and that actually represents all the shields from those towns. That's where this is coming from all those towns. So this is East Frisian, and then next to us is Frisian, that little small thing. And then over here is Schleswig-Holstein, which is considered North Friesland. And then all the way in the Netherlands, we have West Friesland. And these are the islands, they belong to Ostfriesland. And there's one island that belongs to Wilhelmshaven. And I want to talk a little bit about the islands in a little bit. So Ostfriesland, that's the slide I was looking for. So it's Emden, Aurich, Leer, Norden, Wittmund, and then this town, which is a smaller town, but these are all the 6. And then Aurich is right there, where I showed earlier. And Ostfriesland is pretty much dominated still by agriculture, which basically dairy farms in the south and crops up north, and then fishing, dike construction, because we have to protect ourselves from all the storms, and melioration, and basically tourism at the coast and the islands.
What's melioration?
It's like land work. So what we had is moor. You ever heard about moor?
Yeah.
Moorland. And they cultivated that, and they got rid of that, and they used that to build homes back then, like little huts. That were the first huts, basically, in Friesland. And then they used it for burning. They had like little logs, they dried that up. It's like peat moss, kind of. And now they use that for all the nurseries for like dirt. They grind that up. But then it also became under protection by the government, and now you cannot no longer harvest it. So now it just sits. And these are the 7 islands: Bisborkum, Jüst, Norderney, Baltrum, Langeoog, Spiekeroog, and Wangeoog. Where Wangeoog belongs to the Frisian side. And these are the uninhabited ones. That's just a map showing with the Netherlands here. The Netherlands has islands too, and there are our islands. And then over here is Schleswig-Holstein, so this is the Baltic Sea, and this would be the North Sea. And Schleswig-Holstein also is known for their islands. And they are our islands. So it begins with Borkum, Jüst, Norderney, Baltrum, Langeoog, Spiekeroog, Wangeoog. And that's just a picture of the coast with the island just laying off it. So if there's good weather, you can see the islands laying there. And it takes about 45 minutes to an hour by ferry to get to these islands. And all the entire coastal part and the land that is between the islands and the coast is protected under the national park, which is called Wattenmeer. So the first island, I just talked a little bit about these islands. So the first island is Borkum, with the population. And in the summer, you're not allowed to take your car over there, or you drive your car. And most islands are like that. There are no cars allowed, so it's all car free. That's part of Borkum. So then the next one is Use. Use is a very narrow, long island. That's on the other side of the island.
Do people live on the island?
Yes. We have the population. The population is up top.
Oh, okay.
So like Northern Eye is one of the bigger ones, or the biggest, so the population is like 6,000. They're famous for the FKK, the nude beaches.
But it's only popular in the summer.
I would say, yeah, otherwise it's very cold.
What's that?
So the next island is Baltrum, and that's where so what we also do in the summer is walk to the island. So we have, the tide difference is 8 to 10 feet. So all the water between the coast and the islands disappears. So Baltrum is the main island you walk to because it's also the closest, and it only takes like 4.5 hours. It depends on how much the wind is pushing this tide back into, like, there's like waterways here running across, and if the wind is pushing this tide too much back, then you have to go around, and then it takes even longer. So I did this trip now twice since I've been back. As a kid growing up, I never had time to go to the coast or do anything, so now that I'm older, now I did it twice, and the last time it took like an hour longer than the first time. And you are only allowed to take this tour with a guide. Because this thing is deceiving. You think, oh, it's right there. Like I said, at good weather, you can see the islands, and some people just started walking off. But because the tide difference is so high, so that means water is rushing out quick, but water is also coming back quick. And then you are stranded. So every couple of years, they need to rescue people out of this because they went without a guide. So that's basically me, right there. So closer to the coast, it's very muddy. So you always sink in. And then closer to the island, it gets more solid. And then these are the waterways I was saying. So now it's only 2-hour anchor, but sometimes it goes all the way up to your waist. And you wear like either socks or old sneakers because there's a lot of muscles, they cut your feet open. Or I guess that year I just went barefoot. So Baltrum is an island, again, where you're not allowed to drive your cars. So each of these homes, bed and breakfast or whatever, like pensions, hotels or whatever, they have their house number on there. And then when you come, you know already, okay, I have 38, so I put all my luggage in there, and then I carry this car to that house. And that's on the other side of the island, which is not so affected by the tide, so you always will be able to swim. And it's very wavy. It's always windy.
Is that an airport that I just saw?
That's a little seawall. That's on the, yeah, they might have an airport. Yeah. But I know the last island definitely has an airport. So all the homes in my area it's basically brick and terracotta shingles. And they come in different colors. That's Long Oak. And that's an island you can walk to, but it's way further. So you have to walk all the way here, where in Baltrum you kind of land here, but at Long Oak you got to land all the way over here, because over here you can't. And then, so that already takes longer, and then you got to walk the whole entire island all the way across. So that's more like for advanced people.
Wonderful.
And then it's very unique too, is we have these baskets, and you can rent these. So where over here we have like beach chairs and umbrellas, but over there we have these baskets. So they basically protect you from the wind, because it is always very windy at the coast. And you can kind of like recline them. They have like slide outs and like kind of like an awning you can pull out too. But that you will see them all over the coast and the islands. It's a Scottish island. I guess he's on one of these islands. This is a water tower. It's not a light tower, but it's a water tower. This is one of the quietest islands. And it's pretty over there. It's always pretty. And this is basically the last one, and that, like I said, has a airport. So the next I want to talk a little bit about windmills, because driving through East Friesland you will see them all over the place. So what happened is, like 20-30 years ago, Enercon is now one of the 4th largest manufacturers in the world. And they are the leader in Germany, and they are in Aue. And we have productions here in Germany and then also outside of Germany, even in Canada. The only thing is that they are not allowed in the USA, because there was a fight between them and GE. So far I know there were people in Germany on those wind towers to spy them out, and somehow they got in a big fight. And somehow they got to an agreement where I guess it runs out in 20 or 22, and then I guess Enercon has another shot to come back into the States. But what I was saying about the windmills is, so it started out that farmers, basically farms had windmills behind their farm and started out generating electric for themselves. And then the government said, no, we are no longer going to have that. We're going to have wind parks. So now you see like clusters of windmills throughout the region. And we in Germany are basically maxed out with these wind parks. And now what they are doing is they're taking down the 20-30-year-old windmills and replacing them with the bigger and better ones. And that's this used to be an industrial park with all kinds of different companies and manufacturers, and then Enercon somehow got in there and they spread their wings and pushed everybody out of it. And this facility here is that's where they make these the wings. This now, can you go back one more time? This now is like an innovation center, which consists of like a museum, but they also train their apprentices now in this facility too, which is pretty neat. So they explain you all about the windmills and Enercon and everything else. So this is just a picture of showing how large one of these wings are. Then I want to talk a little bit about Volkswagen, because Volkswagen is also a big employer in East Friesland, because the big plant is in Emden. And we used to get a lot of cars from Emden, a lot of Volkswagens. And there's actually a law that says, well, I guess you guys can read it, sir. I need to... Yeah. So then, after all this, so why am I here and how did I get here? And the reason is that I brought Volkswagen in is, so back then on the dairy farm, like I said, I grew up on a dairy farm, and the dairy farm wasn't big enough to pay me as a worker. So I started working outside of the dairy farm, and I worked for a contractor, and we worked for Volkswagen. And that's how I came to America. The first time I came in '99, we went to Halifax and San Diego. And then the second time I came was basically 2 days before 9/11. And like a lot of people here, it changed their life. It kind of changed my life too. So we came as 10 guys. We were supposed to change dashboards. But the problem was all over the world. So we always had to wait for new dashboards to come in. But after 9/11, everything became to a halt. And so with that being said, we had free time, and with free time you go out, and when I went out, I met my then wife. And that's how I got hooked to America. But because, so with the dairy farm, and we were close to the city, we basically got bought out by the city, and they took over our land, and they created another industrial park. Because Anacorn in the north got so big that they pushed everybody out, and all those people needed a new place, so they came to the south. And years before they came to our door, there was another farmer, and he sold all his field, and that pretty much was the end of it. And there was no way for us to expand, so we ended up selling to the city too. So with that money, we bought another farm, a different farm, a bigger farm. And while I was in America, we were in transition to take this new farm over. So I couldn't even finish my whole trip here, so I had to go back home. But I already met my girlfriend then, my then wife. And the only way to make that happen with us was that she came to Germany. So we got married in Germany, and then we had 2 kids. But then it came to a conflict between my parents, basically with my dad and me and my wife, which basically split us all apart. And I had to make a decision. And because I was married then and I had 2 kids, I decided to come to America. So that's how I came. And I came to America in 2005. So then, in 2005, I pretty much started out very early on as an electrician. From my then wife, my ex-wife, she knew a friend, he was just starting his own business. So I got hooked with him, and I went 1 year to non-union school, and then he actually signed on with the union, which was my luck. And then they took me over, and then I did 5 years of union school. So I basically went 6 years to school since I got here. And then another thing what I want to say is, so how did I get hooked to the German club is because in 2005 when we had my daughter's baptism, and at that house, it was my ex-wife's uncle and aunt. At that house, Andre Lienig was doing work. And then the guy, the owner, was like, oh, I know a German guy, he just did work at my house, let me call him up. So actually that day on a Sunday, Andre came by, and that's how I met Andre, and then that's how I became a member at the club. Do we have anything? So then in 2010, after I broke up with my ex-wife, I met Jann, actually 2011. And in 2014, we got married in St. Lucia. That's her sisters and their boyfriend and husband, boyfriend. And then in 2016, my permanent resident card was running up. So I'm like, okay, I can either renew that, or I can go after the dual citizenship. And I talked to several people here at the club, and they pursued that, and they said, oh, it's a long way, and first I was a little hesitant about it, but then I'm like, it was becoming election year too, and Trump was getting bigger and bigger, so I kind of got scared, and I'm like, maybe I need to get my citizenship, so I'm kind of safe. So I pursued my citizenship in July, actually June June, I became my citizenship. So now I'm doing.
Excellent.
So that's pretty much it.
All right.
Thank you.
I know I talk way more about where I'm from, but I pretty much spent 30 years in Germany, so, and I'm here now 11 years, so that's why my presentation is more about Germany than America.
Well, we might have a few questions for you.
I figured that.
Anybody, go ahead, just ask them.
On your farm, what breed of cattle? They appear to be Guernseys, but I suspect they may not be.
So we have a lot of black and white cows in Germany, but we had the red and white ones.
You had the red and white.
Yeah.
Okay, the Guernseys, all right.
But there were also the Holstein Friesian, the
Yes.
HF.
Yes.
They were the Friesians. So the land there is
Flat.
Flat.
Flat as Delaware.
flat.
So the joke is you can see 3 days ahead who's coming to visit.
So, is there concern about the waters rising?
Well, the thing is that we in North Germany, and especially in East Friesland, and the Dutch people, we are the best in draining the fields. Because basically where we are is just about 0 to maybe 5 meters above sea level. So we have ditches everywhere. And then we have pumps closer to the coast that pump it all back into the sea.
With it being that close to the Netherlands, is there, it looked like some of the islands had more Dutch type names as opposed to German. Was
I
there an
mean-
influence between the two?
I mean, we have a lot of influence from the Dutch anyway, like my name, Jann, and we have a lot of last names. And I believe I even are like from more like the Dutch kind, the Campens. So that's probably why that is, the Oaks.
Well, and then Plattdeutsch is probably the closest to Dutch anyway.
Ja,
Yeah.
voor de Plattdeutsch. Also wenn ich Platt mit dir pauken würde, dann würde ich gar nichts mehr verstehen. Oder auf Hochdeutsch würde es heißen, wenn ich Plattdeutsch mit euch rede, dann würdet ihr auch nichts verstehen.
Just like the Dutch.
So Plattdeutsch, the lower German, it's a mix basically out of, like you can say Dutch and German, maybe some Danish. It's a whole influence of the Norse. I just said.
Where'd you learn your English?